going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 14 of the Downtown Browntown podcast. I'm your host, Downtown Brown. Today, we're going to discuss the last two games that the Bucks played, picking up a nice win in Denver, 125 to 112, followed by a disappointing loss last night to the Phoenix Suns, 125 to 124, coming down to the wire. Just going to let you know what I'm seeing here. Won't break down in the stats too much, but again, just using certain stats to prove certain points. And I think these are two very different games here, and I'll let you know what I'm seeing. So we'll start with the Denver game. Middleton stole the show, obviously. 29 points, 12 boards, or 12 assists, 8 boards. His playmaking has just been nothing short of spectacular. The last few games, he's just looked super good. And he shot really well, and just he was in control of that game. I mean, obviously we got the news that, although it's not officially reported, but it looks to be that Jrue Holiday did test positive for COVID. They're due to disclosure reasons in the NBA. None of the NBA reporters will directly say if someone got COVID. But when a guy's out for multiple games due to health and safety protocols, it's almost a guarantee that he is out for COVID unless it is contract tracing, which I feel like they do usually release that information. Like Kevin Durant, he's on his second stint of being out for a week due to contract tracing and him having exposure to COVID. So with Jrue, Middleton did leak it and say that he got COVID in a post-game interview on Monday night. So obviously we're hoping that Jrue fights COVID well and is okay, and T's and P's to him and his family. But it's obviously it just came at a rough time. I mean, either way, it would have came at a rough time. Anytime Jrue Holiday is going to be out for a week to 2 weeks, that's tough, especially when the Bucks are humming like they were with that 5-game win streak. 4 games with Jrue, and then the 5th win coming against Denver there without Jrue. But obviously a tough loss for the Bucks, but it's going to give other guys opportunities to step up. So, Bryn Forbes has been absolutely insane from 3. I think they said last night in his last 6 games he was shooting like low 70 or like upper 60% from 3. I mean, that is out of this world. He's the top 3-point shooter percent-wise in the league right now. He's came to play. 3 for 6 from 3 against Denver, 15 points. He's just provided a huge spark for the Bucks here, and him stepping in the starting lineup, like I said, is something that I kind of thought maybe would happen at some point with the struggles of Dante DiVincenzo, but my boy Dante has played great the last 2 games, double-digit scoring in both games. His defense has been great. Combined between Dante and Torrey Craig, they really shut down Jamal Murray. He had, 17 points, really inefficient from the field, shot less than 40%, was a non-factor in the game. For a guy like him who's a borderline all-star point guard, Jamal Murray's a great player, elite offensively, and Dante and Craig shut him down, and that was huge for the Bucks. Obviously Jokic got his, having 36 points, but that's just going to happen. That's how good Nikola Jokic is. So I thought the Bucks defended Jokic really well. It was really nice to see Giannis take that primary scorer on the team and lock him down a little bit. Obviously, you don't lock someone down when they score 36, but Giannis played great D on Jokic throughout the game with a little bit of Lopez mixed in there as well. So that was a really nice adjustment by Bud there to get Giannis on their most elite scorer, because he's the defensive player of the year last year. We know how great he is defensively. Obviously, you love to have Giannis in that helping role where he's kind of just the main helper, and that's where a lot of his blocked shots come into play. But again, just to have Giannis guarding elite players, that's what we need. Go back to that Brooklyn game when we had Pat Connaughton guarding Kevin Durant at the end of the game. What the hell is that? I got my Pat shirt on today again, and I'm going to talk about Pat a little bit here when we review the Suns game. But, Pat Connaughton guarding Kevin Durant, you can book at least 2 points every possession, and unless we just get lucky and KD misses a shot, because he's going to be able to get that shot over Connaughton no matter how draped Connaughton is on on Durant. So I really like the adjustment from Bud there. Middleton was absolutely fantastic. Like I said, Dante came out hot, hit 2 threes in the first quarter. I thought Lopez had a really good scoring game as well, 17 points. He had some key buckets down the stretch for the Bucks that propelled them to the win. And it was one of those games where, it was really close throughout, and the Bucks just never let it get out of hand, and they took control of the game in the fourth quarter. They closed the game out with Middleton, and it was huge. Absolutely great game for the Bucks, and honestly, I was not expecting us to win after the news of Jrue Holiday. I was like, man, that stinks. Such a great player like him gonna miss that game, and what's look like gonna be this whole road trip and even more. So what a huge win for the Bucks to carry on their momentum and get to 16-8 with the win against Denver. So overall, I thought it was a great win defensively. I was really impressed with the team. They really came out to play from start to finish. Torrey Craig getting 23 minutes, I thought was huge. I mean, he hit 3 for 3 from the three-point line as well, 9 total points. He's great on the rebounds as well. And obviously, he was going to come to play because he was on Denver the last 3 seasons. So, he was obviously going to. That was a revenge game for him, right? Like we saw Eric Bledsoe hit 7 threes against the Bucks a couple weeks ago when we lost to the Pelicans on the road. So, excuse me. So yeah, obviously, guys in those positions are going to come to play, and Torrey Craig definitely did that. So I'd love to see him getting around that 20 to 25 minutes a game because his defense is that elite. And we all saw what he did to Jamal Murray, and I want to see more of that night in and night out. So that was a great game plan by the Bucks. They executed really well with the sudden news of Jrue being out as well. This wasn't something they really had a lot of time to prepare for. So all those fire Bud guys, I just see Bucks Twitter every time. Even when we win, all the comments, fire Bud. And it's like, I get why people can be frustrated with him at times, but like I said in the last episode, he's making adjustments this year. They had that meeting in the off season after the disappointing loss in the bubble to the Heat, where it was the owners and Giannis and Bud had a meeting, and I'm sure they talked about the stuff like, look, Bud, you've got to make adjustments. The stuff that you're doing defensively from a scheme perspective is not working in the playoffs. Offensively, we get too stagnant at times. We've got to make adjustments, or, you might be out of here if we have another disappointing postseason loss. So he's making adjustments. So for that, I'm happy with it. And like I said, it's not going to be pretty at times. It's going to look ugly. So, all these people saying fire Bud. And a lot of it's from I feel like a rotation perspective. Like, people don't like that, DJ Augustine's getting a bunch of minutes. He's our backup point guard. Who else are we going to play? We signed him for $7 million a year for 3 years, which just stinks. But, he's our backup point guard, and we've got to have him out there for at least 15 minutes a game because we need him to get better. And he's shown signs of that when he's knocking down shots. He's a deadly shooter. But there's times where he tries to do too much, tries to get to the hole, and has the ball. I hate when he has the ball at the end of the shot clock. Nothing ever ends well with that. We saw that last night against Phoenix. But again, we got to live with him right now. And unless the Bucks make an upgrade here at the trade deadline, which is going to be very hard to do with limited assets, we're going to have to roll with DJ Augustine getting minutes. And, obviously the buyout market is potential to add a piece as well, but that hasn't played out yet, so we'll see what happens. But for now, this is our team, and we got to get DJ minutes because he needs to get better. So let's segue now to the loss last night. The Bucks fall to the Phoenix Suns 125-124. Giannis was just absolutely insane. 47 points, 11 boards, 9 assists. The guy was just on a different planet last night. 17 for 21 from the free throw line as well. I don't know if he's ever had that volume of free throws in a game and had that good of a percentage. That was fantastic. You take note of this. So the last few games, I've definitely noticed that Giannis's release point, so that's where he releases the ball when he's going through his shooting motion. Before it was lower, but it's definitely higher now, and it just looks way more smooth. You even saw the announcers were Doris and Dave Pasch were like, I don't understand how this guy's free throw percentage isn't good with the beautiful form that he has. He has great form, and obviously he's working on this so much because he's frustrated with the results that he's had. Career low, 62% going into that game. I'm not sure what it's at now. It obviously went up. 17 for 21 is fantastic. But Giannis was just dominating on offense. I mean, that game was really sloppy in the second half. Like, the Bucks got into, or the Phoenix Suns got into the penalty. What was it? 3 minutes into the third quarter, I was like, oh boy, this is a recipe for disaster. They're just going to be driving on us, drawing fouls, hitting free throws, and it's going to be tough to keep up with that. But Giannis was just the aggressor that whole quarter. Got up to a 16-point lead at one point in time. Bucks were making shots. Well, really not in they weren't really making threes in the second half. They came out guns blazing in the first half, hitting three-pointers. I mean, Burton Forbes couldn't miss. Other guys making shots, Middleton, Brook Lopez. But again, the shots weren't falling in the second half, and luckily we had Giannis to carry us through that. But at the end of the day, the defense was very bad in the second half. Devin Booker was getting his way with the Bucks, and you could tell that they were really they were looking for those pick and rolls and just getting to their spots and hitting mid-range jump shots, these easy little jump shots. Chris Paul, that is his game, is operating in the pick and roll, one of the best in the game today at operating in the pick and roll and getting his shot. And a lot of times you'll just see him. He goes off the pick and he kind of backs up a little bit, dribbles back, and just hits that little fadeaway before the defender has time to get a hand in his face. And the dude doesn't miss those shots. And that's the shots they were taking in the third quarter, and that's what propelled them to close the quarter off really strong on a big run. Bucks are up 16. Came in at the end of the third quarter. Bucks were up 3 with a Middleton really nice mid-range shot on the end line there to go up by 3. But you could tell that the Suns had momentum coming into the fourth quarter, and I was texting one of my buddies about it. I was like, dude, we got to come out strong this quarter. The Suns have the momentum. It's going to be tough, but if we don't, I don't know if we're going to win this game. And what do you know? 3 straight threes by the Phoenix Suns to take a 6-point lead. One by Booker, one by Paul, one by Kaminsky. Just missed defensive assignments. It kind of looked back to, the game against the Charlotte Hornets where we just stunk pretty much the whole game, or even the Pelicans game too, when we had that 2-game skid when I was getting really frustrated with the team. But again, just missed defensive assignments and giving up open threes. 6-point lead, now you're in a hole. We were winning the whole game and had the game under control. I was so happy during that third quarter. I was like, man, we're just looking so good right now, even without Jrue Holiday. Like, we're just this offense is absolutely lethal, and it is regardless of the loss. Obviously, I think if we have Jrue, we win that game. Now, does the game go the same way if we have Jrue? No, it doesn't. Does Giannis get 47? I can't guarantee that. I'm sure he would have scored a little bit less. Jrue would have taken some shots away from him. He would have taken shots away from everyone, but I mean, Giannis was carrying us in the whole second half on offense. We were really struggling. We're struggling to make shots. Burton Forbes was cold. Middleton wasn't getting the ball enough. Dante was cold. Lopez was cold. I mean, when that happens, it's going to be tough to win games. And the Bucks just, they couldn't make enough shots in the fourth quarter there, and ultimately that led to a loss. I mean, obviously Devin Booker hit that 3 to go, I think it was 9 with 2 minutes left. I was like, all right, I mean, I think this game's over at this point. How are we going to come back from this? And what do you know? The Bucks make a huge run. The highlight of that was that Dante steal to get the Middleton 3, and you're like, wow, all right, the Bucks are down 2 now. And then Giannis ends up getting a bucket, and we're tied. It's like, wow. And then we follow Booker, and he makes one of 2 free throws, 125, 124. Bucks got the ball, 31 seconds left, and this is I said this in an earlier podcast. I've seen this type of game where we've lost so many times in my life, especially the last 4 or 5 years when the Bucks have been good, where it's coming down to the wire. Fourth quarter, it's a battle. Team takes the lead. We have a resilient comeback. I mean, people need to respect that comeback that we had a little bit. That was tremendous. I mean, I was basically throwing in the towel. I was like, there's no way we're winning this game now. And the Bucks tie it up. I mean, that was unbelievable. Just for them, their offense is that good, and for them to be able to tie that game up, I couldn't believe it. But again, I've seen so many of those games where we just fight so hard to get back, tie it. We usually don't take the lead, tie it. And then what do you know? We have the ball at the end of the game with a chance to win, and we can't get it done. Whether it's bad turnovers. I mean, I love Middleton. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this about this game specifically, but there's been numerous instances where he's had the ball at the end of the game with a chance to win, and bam, sloppy turnover, and it just drives me nuts. But, I thought we got screwed on that last possession, second last possession, 31 seconds left. Middleton passes the ball to Giannis in the post, Jay Crowder defending him, and Jay Crowder does the infamous pulling the chair. So if you don't know what that means, it's basically like, okay, Jay Crowder's right up in him, right on his ass, guarding him, and Giannis is shielding him, trying to get the ball. And, when what Jay Crowder did is before Giannis got the pass, he pulled the chair, so he backed up from him. So then Giannis just is flat-footed at that point. But he pulled Giannis down. I mean, there was a video on Twitter where he's literally yanking him and pulls him with his right arm down, and that's how they get the steal. It's like, what the hell is that? How do you not call that? That's ridiculous. I know the refs are scared to blow the whistle at the end of the game sometimes, especially when it's this tight of a game, a one-possession game where that could have led the Bucks to victory, but you got to make that call. I mean, he got freaking pulled down by Jay Crowder, the Bucks killer, as we all know, who just lit us up in the bubble last year. Of course, it had to be fucking Jay Crowder. Marquette alum, but the dude drives me nuts because he's a Bucks killer. He's one of those Terrence Ross, Bojan Bogdanovic kind of guys who just, when he plays the Bucks, he shows up and lights us up every time. So of course it had to be stupid Jay Crowder who pulls the chair on him and just yanks him down. Normally pulling the chair is a good method, but he did both, yanked him and pulled the chair. So, I mean, I just don't get how you don't call that. I mean, Giannis is going to make one of those free throws, then obviously they would have a chance to take the lead, or we have the lead by one and they miss and we win, goes on overtime. Anything could have happened there. But still, we would have had an opportunity to at least tie the game at that point, and the refs just blew the call. Not saying it came down to that, but it's really frustrating when those types of things happen. It's like, that's an obvious missed call, and you didn't make it. It's like, come on, give me a break. But anyways, I mean, we still had a chance to win the game at the end there with, 2.3 seconds. They had the ball next. Obviously, they missed a shot. We got a timeout. It was 2.8 seconds it was. And Giannis takes a mid-range shot and misses it. I know a lot of people are going to bark at, Middleton was wide open in the right corner. But, when Giannis had the ball, there was 2.3 seconds left at the time. And that was just a still shot. I think it would have been very difficult for Giannis to get that pass off to Middleton and him get a shot up. Chris Paul probably would have been there to contend it too as well, to contest it. So, I mean, I don't think we made the right decision. I mean, you can obviously, and here I saw the Fire Bud comments last night because of the play call that we drew up to get Giannis a mid-range shot at the end of the game. I mean, is that the most efficient shot that we could get at that time? No, it obviously wasn't. You'd prefer to have Middleton take that shot, or even Forbes, honestly, get a shooter of the ball. But again, I mean, we had a wide open mid-range shot, and Giannis couldn't knock it down. He was shooting well from the free throw line, and a lot of people were saying I like that they gave Giannis that opportunity to take that shot and win that game just to get his confidence up with shooting and all of that. And I'm not necessarily in that court. You got to get the most efficient and effective shot. And to me, that's Middleton shooting the ball. But, I mean, it is what it is. We had a wide open shot to win the game, and it didn't fall. Like I said, we get that call on Jay Crowder, maybe things turn around. Or if the Bucks can just knock down a couple more shots, we win that game easily. If we have Jrue Holiday, we're winning that game. I mean, his defense was desperately missed last night. I felt like we were going to struggle a little bit more against the Suns as opposed to the Nuggets, because Nuggets have one elite guard, and that's Jamal Murray, but the Suns have two, Booker and Chris Paul. So we could have Dante on one of them, but the other guy is probably going to cook a little bit. So that obviously happened, and Torrey Craig, I didn't think got enough minutes. 23 against Denver, only 15 against Phoenix. Don't quite understand that. He was so effective in the game. He was 1 for 2 for 3 in the game against the Suns too. He's got to be getting 20 to 25 minutes a game. His defense is that important to this team, and we need him desperately. DJ Augustine had a terrible game. He was minus 16 with his plus minus ratio. Again, that's offensive rating over defensive rating, which offensive rating is points scored per 100 possessions, and defensive rating is points given up per 100 possessions. So he was minus 16. Not good at all. I mean, he had a tough game, but again, I don't think it was all on him. We just didn't make enough shots at the end of the game. Pat Connaughton, 0 points in 21 minutes. I got my Pat shirt on today. I like Pat. I really do. I think his defense is pretty good against guards. I still don't understand why he's guarding big guys at times, but I think that's just the switching nature at times because now we're doing more switching versus drop coverage. And Pat's on the rebounds, but he has been in a slump shooting in 21 minutes to me, and it just doesn't make sense. And I was really getting frustrated at the rotations we had in the fourth quarter. It was like 8 minutes left. Giannis was out, and we had Middleton, Forbes, Augustine, Dante, and Lopez, I believe, and we just had no scoring. I was like, we got to get our guys in now at the end of the game. Like, that's something that does drive me nuts about Bud sometimes. It's like, I know he's trying to get these guys a little bit of rest in the fourth quarter, but like 8 minutes in the fourth quarter and on, you got to have your starters in, or like a Portis in for a Brook Lopez, which a lot of people are calling for too. I thought Lopez had a really rough defensive game against the Suns, and Portis was hot. He was putting points up. He had that nice, 15 points, 9 rebounds in like 15 minutes. I mean, that's who Bobby Portis is. That's what he's going to do. Obviously, he had 2 more down games against the Nuggets and against that second game against the Cavs. But, I mean, more often than not, he's averaging double-digit points and almost double-digit rebounds. So the guy is going to stuff the stat sheet, and I think he's a little more athletic on defense. So, I mean, hopefully maybe he starts to see some significant fourth quarter closing minutes. We haven't quite seen that yet. But again, I don't see how Pat Connaughton can begin those minutes if he's not making shots. And he had 0 points, and that's rough. I mean, Craig should be getting that 25 minutes where Connaughton, sprinkle him in 10 to 15. That's fine. But we got to tighten those rotations a little bit at some point, specifically in the playoffs. And once we get Jrue back, I would love to just have the 5 starters and then Bryn, Forbes, Portis, Craig, and Augustine getting minutes, and that's it. And, if Connaughton's not cutting it, then you just got to bench him at that point because we need to have our best players in. So, all in all, it's a tough loss. Again, we've had 3 games like that this season where we've had the ball at the end of the game with a chance to win, and we can't get it done. And it's just super frustrating. I'm just sick of seeing that same game where it's just like, we just can't get it done at the end. But, what are you going to do? It's tough missing our starting stud point guard in Jrue Holiday. But, again, Bucks got a tough game tomorrow night against the Jazz. I hope that it could very well be a little 2-game losing streak here if they can't get it done against the hottest team in the NBA and the Utah Jazz. So, even Oklahoma City on Sunday night, it's going to be a tough game. The Bucks have been playing a lot lately. 4 games in 6 days. That was their 4th game in 6 days against the Suns. So that's something that people don't realize either, is that the Bucks they're a little drained right now being on this road trip, especially with Jrue being out. Guys are getting extended minutes. It's tough. So it's going to be really tough on Friday. Hopefully we can get the Jazz on an off night and squeak out a win there and maybe close out the road trip with a win against OKC. But it's going to be tough, so I can't wait to watch tomorrow night. And in terms of Jrue Holiday, I think he has to miss at least 10 days of isolation. He has to isolate for 10 days in guidance with the protocol. So, honestly, I expect him to probably be back next weekend. They play Toronto next week, Tuesday and Thursday. And then I think they have 2 games. It's either Friday or Sunday or Friday and Saturday. I'm hoping that Jrue's going to be back for that weekend stretch, but he could be out a little longer than that, even leaking into that next week. So Bucks are really going to have to find themselves and play well. And honestly, they've played pretty damn well without him. So I'm liking some things. There's some things that we need to improve on, as I alluded to. But again, just tough loss last night, and hopefully we can rebound against the Utah Jazz. So thank you guys very much. Again, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It would mean a lot to me. As well as follow me on Instagram and Twitter Instagram, I'm at downtown_brown33, and Twitter at downtown_brown. Thank you guys very much. Go Bucks.